that
Two
far.
pairs of glasses.
I didn't bring my glasses, so I can't read that far.
Alright.
Did you wanna speak, you want me to welcome everybody, and you wanna speak to the pool
You
or no?
you do your thing.
Okay, just roof stuff, or you wanna do?
I thought we were
pool?
gonna do the pool stuff first.
Or not at all? I don't know.
Oh shoot. I was so focused on this that
I can do it, I'll just do whatever, it's easy. Okay, thank you.
It's just a reminder to
Yeah, do
People working
you have to like second it and do all that mess, or?
should be official.
I don't have to do anything else to put the presentation in Teams, do I?
I don't know, I don't, you see, I'm not.
It's been a while.
Can people see the screen? That's just asking. Can everybody hear me?
You need to share your screen.
Oh, there we go. I knew there was something I was missing.
See a post right next to leave,
What's that?
share.
All right. Can everybody see the screen now? Awesome. Oh, yeah, just a second.
Well, after, and you close it.
All right, Tom.
Welcome
Take it.
everybody, we're gonna call the meeting to order. Can everybody hear me? Anybody in Teams land? Do I have to get near your computer?
Yeah.
Okay. So today's meeting is about the roofing project. So I have my own papers, Melody will adjust the screen. So first is estimated scope of work. It says shingle and fascia board replacement on the rooftops. Organic material removal and remediation in the attic spaces. Process to remove potential organic material growth. They have a solution that they can use on the plywood instead of replacing it fully, which will take that off the plywood. Then they do coat the plywood after to prevent growth. They will remove and replace all insulation to comply with Washington codes. If they have to replace the plywood, if they can't get enough of it off, they will. So they're also gonna do the bird block. There's some other options for bird block, but that's where the intake comes in, and then the ridge vents is where the hot air exhausts from. So we need to do both of those. We currently don't have enough intake air, so that's the goal there.
Sorry, I need to go back to this.
Okay, and then lastly, replace the gutter system. So this is kind of a smaller scope of work. Thanks to Christiana for putting this together. So the companies, the Amento Group was a company that's a third-party vendor. They're not a roofer. They were hired to do a scope of work, basically to see, hey, what do you guys need done, rather than go to a roofer and the roofer say, you need everything. So the Amento Group, that was back in 2023. You can see she also looked up, they have no Better Business Bureau accreditations, 4.3 stars on Google. M&Z Roofing. M&Z Roofing was from the previous board. They happened to call and ask if they got the proposal. So I called them back and said, please resend that because we didn't get that from On Point. So that's how they were added to this list. Valentine Roofing, Better Business Bureau since 2019, 4.8 Google stars. James King Roofing, no Better Business Bureau accreditation, 3.8 stars. Roof Boss, Better Business Bureau accredited since 2004, 4.5 stars.
Okay, just a sec, let me, we'll let people in.
Ready? Tell me when to go.
Oh, go, you're good.
Okay, so the first one is the Amento Group. Now, like I said, they're not a roofing company, so what they did is a ROM, which is a rough estimate, and I did not like how that was done because the Amento Group was not supposed to be doing roofs, and then later they wanted to use Amento Group as a general contractor or something to that effect, and then sub the roof, sub the removal of all the insulation, sub the venting, sub everything out, and that would be a grand total of $4,471,000,000.
And also the roofer they were looking into was a very bad roofer.
What was
Yeah,
that?
well, they didn't get all the roof bids yet. She's saying the one roofer Michelle mentioned had a bad rating.
It was really bad. And
And-
not something we want to use. They had something against them, or there was like some bad.
To me, even worse than that was you can't take somebody and say they're an independent person and then go, and by the way, now you can start the project, because that's conflict of interest. Anyway, that's kind of a formality because we're gonna move on to these other ones. M&Z Roofing, as I said, they were from the previous board, and they happened to call, and so we got their proposal. Their proposal actually for what they're doing was pretty good as far as removing all insulation and so forth. I'm not gonna read everything through line item by line item, but their total $3,317,742. So you have Valentine Roofing. Valentine Roofing, since I was on the board or pseudo board member, president, talked to Valentine. Valentine would only go into one space. They weren't willing to go into all of them. So they bid one roof and they went into one attic and said, or actually two attics, I believe. Then they quoted prices on those. They will not remediate any insulation. That would be on top of this quote. So you'd have a lot of subcontractors. So although the price may seem good, it's not a full price. It's $1,360,287. James King Roofing, theirs is a little more comprehensive, but it does say they can contract out services. Their total is $2,586,302.69. So lastly is Roof Boss. Roof Boss, James King and Roof Boss went into every attic. Roof Boss said they would go into every attic, then I asked James King to follow along with them, and they did. So Roof Boss had some other suggestions for us, like use more, instead of using the current bird block, they showed, if you guys were in the last presentation by them, they showed us the improved blue bird block, which allows more intake air in to your attic. They had a lot to say. The gable vents on the sides, they said those shouldn't be there because they kind of would draw a cross breeze. Their bird block vents come with a damper or baffle. That damper or baffle is used to hold the insulation in place so that doesn't block the bird block. Let me think. Oh, they also are coming back to do roof cleaning. They're gonna inspect the attics for a number of years after. You guys can read all this. They have warranties and whatnot. There's two options for gutters without gutter guards and gutters with gutter guards. If you get the gutter guards, you get 5-year warranty. If you don't, you get a 1-year warranty. Theirs has seemed to be the most comprehensive. They met with the board, they met with the homeowners, all free of charge. So anyway, ahead and ask questions or comments, and I would like to know, you guys can take some time to think about it, or if you need to read back through the slides, but I'm curious what you guys think as far as which vendor, just an informal survey. I have my choice, but who do you guys think we should use out of these folks?
Can we ask questions first?
Oh, definitely ask questions.
I like Roof Boss.
Okay. No, I'm sorry, questions and or who you would like.
So during the Roof Boss presentation, they had stated that if it were done within 12 months, then we have to anticipate increase of materials costs spread over that period of time. But if we shrink that timeline, the costs would be more predictably.
I raised my hand and asked that exact question. I said, so if you're gonna raise the cost for materials and we decide to choose you, can we buy all the materials now? And he said, Tom, if you sign, your price is locked.
But,
He said, for the 1 year.
oh, for 1 year, that,
Yeah.
no, so we originally asked if we could like piecemeal it over 3 years, and they said that they can't, no, and that's what they couldn't
That's only gonna
guarantee.
be about 30%.
Yeah.
Because it will go up, they can't, the
Okay.
cost will go up every year because of the material costs.
I
But
thought
if
it
it
was
was,
12 to 18 months was.
they lock in the price for
I get
the,
it.
So yeah, if they had to, because we did ask that question to several vendors, and that's a good thing to bring up. So we said, well, what if we did it in phases? Say we did from 2025 to 2030. They said every time we have to mobilize, every time we have to bring a crew, every time we have to buy materials at a higher cost, it would cost us more to try to elongate the project. And then, I mean, in my head too, it's like, well, what we're planning on doing is the worst first, so the inspection that says, hey, this person needs it the most, so on and so forth, and go that route. And if you delayed it, who gets, who's the last person, because everybody's gotta pay their portion. And then if you're at the end of if you were 5 years down the road, you might be like, wow, why am I the one that has to pay for my new road? But anyway, any other questions, or did I answer your question, sir?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, thanks.
I have a question.
Sure.
If Roof Boss gets selected and there was an option there that included the gutter cover,
mhm.
you said that's good for 5 years?
Yes. That is a 5-year warranty. If you do not get the gutter covering, it's a 1 year.
Well, cause I live in building 17 and every time the rains come around, every time we get rainy season, the gutter systems always get overflowed.
Yep.
So is mine.
There's a huge spill and there's like a,
I think it happens to all of us along the forest line,
yeah,
cause mine does too.
so would that prevent the overflow from happening?
That should prevent big pieces of material
well as
from
it can.
entering the gutters. And then the good news is they're gonna come for however many years it says, I don't have it memorized, but they're gonna come and do that service for us as part of this price. Not indefinitely, but they're gonna start out by doing that. But you are correct, I'm in favor, I guess I'll divulge my choice.
Yeah.
But I'm in favor of the gutter guards, but that's a board decision. It's a little more money, but you get a 5-year warranty and you're gonna get less stuff in your gutter to clean.
Does that mean we won't have like a yearly maintenance if we get the gutter?
No, you're still gonna want a yearly maintenance just from any moss growing on your roof or anything else. And the thing that I did like that they mentioned is they said they will blow the roofs off, meaning air and whatnot. Some people say, well, let's pressure wash the roofs. If you pressure wash your roof and you don't do it perfectly, you can cause leaks, because if you go the opposite direction of the shingles, it will go under the shingles and cause a leak, or if you go, too strong of force. So realistically, you wanna be careful how you clean your roofs.
I think in the first 5 years, they said they'd also go to the attics if there's any problems, they would come in,
Oh, yes,
Yeah,
they're
there are a
gonna.
bunch of warranties that they include with.
and they would come in and
And
fix
so what
it.
this wasn't even negotiation, this was, we want to come in, after we're done, we're gonna come in, we're gonna take photos, and we're gonna, go ahead and prove that the things we did are still intact, right? Cause, the time it was done before, not everything was right. He said that's what he likes to do. He said, because if somebody was to, say somebody went in their attic and wanted to mess with something, or, replace their bathroom fan, and they thought they should go in the attic to do it, and they moved all the insulation over, well then we would, Roof Boss is gonna say, hey, we didn't do any of that, right? So it's a way for him to cover himself to say, hey, we're gonna go back in the attics, we're gonna ensure the work is done right. I had also mentioned to these vendors, I said, the board will vote, but I said, we can have these inspected after the work is finished. So I just threw that out there to give them a little, we might inspect it.
Well, but that's what we should do, because in theory, you don't pay them all, you give them whatever, and then once they're done, you inspect it, and if it's up to par, then they get their final payment. But if we pay all out, we're screwed. So you're not supposed to pay all out. You're supposed to wait. They're supposed to get the second half of the payment once they're done and it's been inspected.
Well, and I think if I recall correctly, it was like a 25% deposit in order to.
It's in stages.
Right.
It's definitely in stages, and yeah, the board can decide to, if we want, not Roof Boss, but a different company, like when Melody was on the roof committee, she had a gentleman come in and he was there to kind of do a scope of work or to inspect, and that was kind of his thing too. So we can see how much that is, and then whoever we choose, right? They complete their project, you say, to me, I would say, hey, go in like 3 or 4. We don't wanna have, if you're gonna have somebody climb in those attics to inspect everything, you're not gonna get it done for free because they're not getting a roofing job out of it. So they're gonna want, an inspector's gonna want to get paid. Or you could say Roof Boss is gonna come back in, but then you're trusting, if it's Roof Boss or whoever it is. So those are options we gotta look at too. And we haven't voted or done anything yet. We wanted to submit this to everybody so they could see what we looked at. And this is a synopsis, this isn't, we'd be here for hours if we gave you every bit in its full context.
So some questions from the chat. What's the estimate on permit fees? Are those were those
No.
included?
We can't get permit fees.
The
until-
permit fees are, the permit fees and taxes.
Some
So-
have tax, some don't. I
Right.
tried to include that on there if that was the total with sales tax or not.
So none of the quotes included the permit fees.
No, I don't believe
Do
so.
we have a guesstimation on what those might be?
I do not. It's gonna be the same across the board. A
Right.
permit fee from Des Moines is a permit fee from Des Moines.
But I'm just like, is it?
I
Right,
have
how many
no
permits?
idea.
How many permits do we have to get? I know that's the
I'm
other thing.
assuming you would get one for the total job, but that's assumptions.
Yeah, I don't know.
So to me, they gotta permit it. That's kind of a thing where you're like, you're stuck with whatever the city charges you.
Okay, some other questions. From Lydia, sorry, I don't see that they have done commercial re-roofing. Have we checked their references? Lydia, who are you referring to? All of them or a specific one?
I'm referring to the Roof Boss.
Yes, they showed us their references when they came in to meet with the board. They didn't bring them when they did their presentation to the community. If you want, I mean, we can ask them to send them to you. They showed us a complex they had just done, and it was actually like in kind. It was a big condominium project. So if you want that information, Lydia, we can provide it, and you can talk to, if you wanna do, would you like that information, I guess?
That would be really great. Not just for me, I bet other owners have some.
Yeah, we
This
had,
isn't a commercial property, this is technically residential.
it's a
Not
large,
that it's in
large
this
residential.
magnitude.
But
Yeah,
it is technically, it's actually a residential property, when we submit our permits, it will be for residential. Yes, there's a lot of units, but this isn't commercial, commercial's classified differently. I'm just saying, when looking at the references, it seems like they've done a lot in residence, which is what we need, based on what our permits are gonna require.
Correct. I think they called it multifamily something, but you're correct. It's not actually a commercial property. Because I work in commercial properties, that's not. But either way, it's a large property. They have done like in kind. So, if you like Lydia, yeah, that's easy. We can get you in touch with David or whoever you would like with Roof Boss. Does that sound good?
yeah, sounds great. And just, if I had incorrectly, we saying that they are warranting the roof for 5 years only, or is that warranty for 5 years?
There's several warranties, I can
Melanie,
go
can you
back.
go back to the slide? with
Yeah.
The response?
Yeah.
Roof boss,
Hey Tom,
yes.
you don't have anything better to do. Would you reach out to the last condo project that Roof Boss did and see if you can talk to their HOA and see how it went?
Yeah,
Thank you. I was
So-
joking about you not having anything better to do,
no, that's why I wear my work clothes to the meetings.
but you probably don't have anything better to do.
Well, people that live in Ellensburg do nothing, I know that.
Oh my God.
Because I have family in Ellensburg. Anyway, I digress. So yeah, we can get, what I will do is maybe me, I think I have Lydia's email still. I will reach out to Roof Boss. I will get the people that they had recommended and the roof that they had done. That was like in kind, a condominium or townhome project they just completed. And then that way, we both have it. We both can look into it if we want. 2 eyes are better than one. But I guess I wanna go back to the other question. So it says gutter installation without gutter guard is 5 year, 1 year with gutters.
Organic growth removal / remediation included and provides a 10-year warranty. It includes a 5-year roof maintenance program and a 10-year labor warranty that includes cleaning, blowing off all roofs and gutters annually, offering 2 years of attic inspections and a 5-year warranty on installation. All warranties will be filed through, it says Ross Boss, but Roof Boss and documentation provided for their work.
Now there would be, this isn't in here, but there's also a materials warranty. But the materials warranties are usually gigantic. The materials will be like 30 years or something crazy, which is good, but the material has to fail. So I'm happy that they have a 10-year labor warranty, cause that's on them.
So, if you were to, let's say, if we went with the gutter covers, it's, round up with permits to 2 million, and then add 10% for tax, you're at about 22,200,000 divided by 143 units is about $15,400 per unit.
That sounds about right.
In case if anybody's wondering, that's the math I did.
I think you should be on the board, Sam, with that kind of.
I can use the calculator that came on my desk, Rick.
I believe you, so, I believe, obviously, if we did the math on the other ones, they're gonna be higher. So, anyway, I'm sorry, did I answer that question as far as warranties go? Maybe?
Yes, yes you did, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Alright, so another question from the chat. How does the board believe that we are going to finance this project? With all of the past issues of funds not being transferred correctly from property management, do we know where the HOA accounting is to decide on this project?
So, you wouldn't be able to finance this even if the funds were all returned from On Point. So this would have been an assessment in 2023, that's what they were proposing, and it would be an assessment now. We don't have millions of dollars in the bank. But the good news is, then you would not be, after that assessment, what management companies tell you, generally speaking, is you need reserves because of things like roofs. They always use roofs as their example. So hopefully, my intention is to not spend any more money. Doing the roofs is a twofold thing. It's gonna increase the value to your unit for all those people that are trying to sell, get an inspection, and cannot. For those people, and hopefully there's not too many of them that have growth in their condo, not just in the roof area, but in their condo, it's gonna stop that for them. So that's kinda, to me, the crux of the roofs. Nobody wants to pay $15,400. that's unfortunately where we sit. And the longer you wait, the more you will spend in possibly fixing people's condos. Because what happens is when they bring in a vendor or contractor, that contractor writes their report, cause of biological growth, roof and attic. Once it's the roof and attic, it's HOA responsibility. We don't want that responsibility. Because then you're spending more money remodeling people's condos, removing mold, sheetrock, everything. Bacteria growth. And I'm sorry, bacteria growth, nobody knows what this is. It's not been sent anywhere. There's no need to send it anywhere because it doesn't change what's in the attics. Sure.
So with the overall price, is that cost allocation based on the unit size, or is it a flat across the?
It's flat across the board. It's everything. And we had discussed that, but the attics are kind of a common area. It's like the grass, right? So if we said, hey, I could say, hey man, I shouldn't have to pay landscaping, because in I stare at the back of a fence, but you stare at this big lawn. So we had said, you know, the attic is common to everybody.
Yeah, but the whole point of a condo association is we pay part of the whole thing. We all are owners of the whole
Right.
thing. So you can't just do
Right.
your roof and you pay for it
Right.
and then everybody else has to pay. That's not how it works with condos, and that's never how it works. And to be fair, the reason why we flipped out with, you know, Michelle way back when that crappy one was gonna do it, it was gonna cost us $31,000 in assessment. $31,000.
I think that's under,
Per
because
person.
if you would've went 4 million, Sam has a calculator, but
No, I
whatever
did
that
4
was.
million.
4,
4471,751 divided by
Okay.
143. That's $31,271 per
I
person.
stand corrected.
And it doesn't. I don't think that. And I don't think that included everything either. They weren't going to do. I don't think that included a lot of stuff that roof office going to do. I mean, I don't want an assessment either. I'm not happy.
And we're not choosing a mental group in the subcontractors.
Yeah, because they.
Nobody wants 30-some thousand. Any other questions or comments or?
On that,
I,
we got more questions.
no, I'm saying that, did that answer the question?
Of the cost
I believe so.
allocation?
How it would be paid?
I do own other condos in other places, and it's usually cost allocated out by how much actual real estate you own of that building. So if you are a larger unit, you are
Is it
occupying.
combined, or do you own your own thing? You know what I mean? Is it, cause here, like I have 3 neighbors, we all share a roof and an attic. So I don't know if your other ones share roofs and attics, or they're separate little things, or I don't know.
No, we have an upstairs and a downstairs unit in a 6-plex. And so
Huh.
2 of the sides are larger than the middle, and so the 2 of the sides people occupy more
More roofs.
surface area, so
Surface area.
cost allocation for that, because my assumption would be that it'd be proportional to your HOA dues. We all don't pay the same HOA dues because it's based on the square footage of your unit. So assessment should align with, my opinion, the assessment should
Yeah.
align with the same cost structure as the HOA.
With the dues.
Because a larger unit is contributing more to the HOA than a smaller unit because the unit is smaller because they occupy less of a footprint.
Possibly. So I'm not sure of this. So with the way they're set up, I know the end unit on mine, I believe, is a little smaller than the middles, maybe. Does that actually take up less roof? I don't know. And the attic is common. So I know, like, if somebody has a roof leak, we have to repair it. That person can't repair it. It comes out of the funds. So we can discuss that. And, you know.
I'll have to review the CCRs and
Yeah,
see what
'cause
the bylaws and everything.
What is the largest unit?
Great question. I don't know.
I think it's the 4 pods, isn't it? It's the ones like that have the 3 bedrooms on the end, 2 3-bedrooms on the ends. So, not 4 pods, but like 8 pods. So you've got
Yeah.
there's 3 bedrooms and then the 2 bedrooms,
With
and
the
there's
interior hallways.
8 in the interior hallways. There's 8 permits there.
But definitely before, like, obviously, we would double check everything and do it at, make the cost allocation the proper way.
I don't know if it spells it out.
But he's right, because not everybody pays the same amount.
Mhm.
No,
as far as
dues-wise, for
HOA
sure.
dues. And it is, I'm pretty sure it is based on,
But that's the interior square footage you're paying for. The roofs are the exterior.
But that's what your
Oh.
HOA goes for, is the common area.
hi, can you mute yourself, please?
No, I get that it goes for the common area, I'm just saying that your HOAs, you're paying based on your square footage on your interior, and then the exterior is different.
Well, parking spaces, you have
Parking
2
spaces,
versus
yeah,
1.
yeah.
So I mean, I don't know, I don't know the answer honestly, so we should get with Parker as well, cause he does other HOAs. So we
Yeah,
can see.
we'll compile the questions and
Yeah.
get them over to Parker and make sure that we have an accurate response for everybody.
We do have a litigious homeowner, and I don't
Mm-hmm.
wanna delay the process.
No,
I
We
get
are
it.
all right there with
Yeah, we're all right there with you, right?
I mean, we pay this too, like, people forget that we own
Right.
houses,
Yeah.
this is the same money we're
None
paying.
of us
for
are
that
having
one
We're all
house.
in
Like,
this
yeah,
together,
exactly.
and we, just because we're on the board doesn't mean,
I just don't wanna
No.
delay
That's
the
a fair
process.
question, honestly.
no,
Well,
it's
it is.
definitely a
Yeah.
fair
I
question.
mean,
Because
I don't know if, we didn't ask Parker about the allocation, and so but we did mention about dividing equal. So I don't know if he just
'Cause-
didn't say anything, cause he's gonna go off what we do, but let's defer and see, get as much info as we can from Parker, so we know if that's common space, and then other thing, and maybe I can, since those guys were in the attics, I'm curious, if you separate, mine's 4 units, but you said others are 8, do those take up the same roof area, I guess?
well, and the other question, like, in my mind, that I'm thinking of, is, like, I'm in, just across.
Jesus, I thought we didn't fix this yet?
So I live in a fourplex as well, and so I'm pretty sure all of our units are the same. But like, my building and all the other fourplexes that maybe are similar, would the cost for the roof repair be the same, right? Like, for those 4 buildings, and then the 8plexes and the 6plexes or whatever, so are those, the other question is, is a 4plex gonna be, that cost is probably gonna be a little bit different than an 8plex, and but I think at the end of the day, it could all still be pretty equal-ish.
Oh, and it's not the carports, just so we know. This doesn't include carports, and we don't have a plan to do the carports, cause we're not seeing that as an issue really.
Oh, there is a few that are moss all over them.
Yeah, I mean, they could be cleaned, that's a good point, but we don't wanna replace them.
Would
It
the
does
gutter
include-
system be included for the carports or not?
It wasn't, I don't believe, and then this building, the clubhouse building was included. Because it does have, I guess, an area above the restrooms, right, so they need to get up there and do their thing there too.
Good question.
Good, next question. I kinda skipped over this one, so who makes the final decision of if the roof is to be replaced or not? What if the majority of homeowners don't agree to it?
The board makes decisions.
I mean, at the end of the day, I think we all want to have the roofs replaced so that nobody is living with mold in their attics and health issues occur and,
Can't sell their units.
can't sell their unit and we get another lawsuit, so we don't want that.
Also, as long as we guarantee that the new roofs every year, because these have never been cleaned since they've been put in, at least in the 7 years I've lived here.
They've been clean.
Have they?
Yeah. But they haven't been cleaned since, I know they haven't been cleaned since the Amento group came. Because they were like, why would we clean a roof if we're replacing it?
But it was before then, because the roofs already had, as I walk around, the roofs already had moss all over them, so it had been,
I don't know, but I was told they'd been cleaned.
no.
So if you're saying they've never been cleaned, I would think they'd
Not
be
with the moss.
collapsing.
Well, because no, they can last for a while, but with some of the moss growth, it's clear they haven't been cleaned in several years.
No, yes, for sure, they haven't been cleaned in.
Moving on to the next question, what monies are in our budget reserves?
little over 200,000 in the reserves. End of May.
Hoping, I mean, for
What
maybe
should
an
we-
increase if On Point gives us.
Yeah. I mean, that's up in the air. That's, you know, there's a lawsuit, legal subpoenas.
So our
We have-
reserves are not where we need them to be
Not
in
at all.
any way, shape, or form.
I think that's the other fear some homeowners have is, if we
How
do,
much money does On Point owe us?
what?
How much money does On Point owe us?
We don't know, because they provided zero information to Targa. They have zero records from On Point's time serving us really at all, so everything we're getting is kind of just random, if we get anything from On Point at all.
They did give us a check, but that, we don't think that, we think that could have been the dues that people were paying in November, December time.
But there was no information, it was just a
A
check in the mail.
Yeah, what is the money from, where is it?
And I don't think we had a full accounting of everything before we moved over to On Point from condo management.
Condo management didn't give On Point the records?
No, cause we didn't have an approved budget. And
We're operating on the 2023 budget.
So that was condo management, right? That was-
condo management, then we
Right.
moved to On Point, and On
And then
Point
we
was.
never got anything. 2024, we had no information, is what I was told. I wasn't on the board, but
What I was also told.
Getting
Couple days
a
ago.
budget from them was, I don't think we got any information. So, yeah, so we are just trying to,
they're going to court, so that's the bottom line. There's nothing the board can do. Condo Law is the company that's taking On Point to court and prosecute to get our funds back.
but we don't know how much.
Right. Because there's no records from On Point at all.
Okay, so someone has a question about, the assessment. I'm new to this homeowner pathway. Can you explain what is an assessment and how does it work?
An assessment is an amount of money you're billed. I mean, I'm not a property manager, but that's, every owner will have to pay a certain amount of money to pay for the costs. It's above and beyond your dues. And the reason you assess is because you cannot pay outright for whatever project you're doing. So, generally speaking, I believe there was conversation years back about making a gating in the complex. And what they had said was, if you make any additions to your condo, anything that's not part of it, that's always gonna be an assessment. Even though the roofs aren't part of it, we don't have the funding for it. So if you add things to this condo, that'll be assessed because it's not a budgeted item. At least that's the way it was explained to me before. I don't know, does that sound correct to
That
you?
makes sense.
Okay, she's the treasurer, so I'm gonna
I've only been on board for 3 weeks and I just got the financials yesterday, so I don't know that much yet.
A special assessment in a condominium refers to an additional fee charged to condo owners to cover costs for unexpected or significant repairs or improvements to common areas. Often for projects not covered by regular condo fees, these assessments are typically in addition to monthly dues and can be triggered by events like major structural repairs, unexpected damages, or the need for significant upgrades. That's what it is.
So I have a question. How long do you have to be an owner before you're part of that? It just like day one, somebody buys a house, cause I feel like I'm like maybe the last person that probably bought a house here. And I'm walking into this now, and I still gotta come out of my pocket with.
The only other way is if you could prove that the owner knew about it or something to that effect, and then they would be on the hook for that. Possibly, but I can't say that would be the facts. But you are correct. If somebody buys a home tomorrow and there's no assessment yet, they're gonna get assessed.
So my concern though, and I know other owners, is we do this assessment to pay for this roof. I don't wanna see my dues go up again. I don't wanna see another assessment down the road because we don't have enough money, because I still don't understand, and again, I'm on board, what happened to all the money we originally had, where it went, and what's being used now, where we can cut costs now to kind of alleviate the fact that we don't have enough money.
I am trying to start to look into that, but like I said, I just got
Yeah.
the financials yesterday, so. But I'm working on that and gonna try to reconstruct the budget to the best of my ability. New to this too, guys.
Question, and we can I ask a question really quickly? Have we reviewed our condo insurance to see if we have any form of special assessment on the whole complex? I have special assessment on my unit, but curious to know if the condo has one on the whole property.
We can check on that.
And if we do have that in our insurance, like she said, I think
But doesn't that
doesn't-
basically absorb some of the cost that each individual owner would have to contribute?
If we had that, yes. Would have.
Yes.
But we'll have to talk to Parker and see what our policies cover.
Okay. And if not, I highly recommend moving forward, we definitely look into that.
I know, or I believe this to be true, because somebody told me with the lawsuits and things, that it's $100,000 deductible for the insurance now. So, that's what I was told, I don't know if that's facts, but,
Insurance. It's the same with that.
well, this,
So yes, but I'm curious though. I mean, if I would love to get a special assessment on my insurance. I'm gonna read it now, so it is. But I'm curious when insurance companies will let each individual condo owner do it, and how much in advance you have to do it, because they're gonna let you slap one on right before an assessment.
Right. And it's, like I have it on my insurance and it's, my deductible. So it's, by me assuming, our homeowner's policy for the community doesn't cover it, it's gonna affect you one way or another, so. All right, thank you, Sandra. All right, next question, did they provide a phasing schedule to start with the worst building to the least affected?
correct, they did.
They did.
I mean, they have that information, I don't know the order of buildings. I believe building 8, is it 18, I think, or 14. Anyway, I think it's 14, is right now we know of as the worst building. But I don't know in order of all of them.
So this doesn't pertain to the roofs, but there's a question about, are there any plans to water our lawns? If not, the value of property will continue to decline.
There's a sprinkler system. I would, if your lawn is dry, email Parker and maybe with pictures and location of it. The sprinkler people would have to make sure your sprinklers are working in that area. I know mine didn't work at all, so we had to do something different because I don't have grass in front of my unit. But that would be the best case, because we do have sprinklers that are supposed to come on, I believe, at night or early morning.
All right, next question. Wondering how you got connected to Roof Boss and what due diligence has been done. Sorry if this has already been answered.
Roof Boss was, I contacted somebody that's a senior director of engineering, asked them who companies that they've used in the past, and that was one that they used, and they did do that person's home as well. So, and that's in SeaTac. So, it wasn't obviously a condo, it's a single home residence. But they did their roof, they were happy with it, they had multiple bids. And so that was the main thing. Now, the other thing about that is his job, he is head of engineering for the West Coast. So he does commercial property, well, I can't say that. He does all different kinds of property. I do commercial, so he does have residential and some other stuff. So he would have a bigger background base as far as companies go. James King is a company that does a lot of commercial properties as well. M&Z, like I said, that was from On Point. Valentine was from Parker. So that's kind of the background on it, and obviously a mental group was from condo management. And they're not a roofing company. That was a guesstimation of price, and then that was to go out to bid. So that was not even a hard number. We didn't know what that was gonna be. That was what they were thinking it was gonna be.
Next question, can we subpoena Points records and bookkeeping to get a more accurate number? We have. Quick answer to that one.
Yeah.
Let's see, do we have records of how much money condo management passed on to OnPoint? I don't think we have accurate records. I don't think we have anything, because we didn't have an accurate budget or a budget that was approved, or I know what I have the budget from like 23.
That's the budget we're operating on currently.
But, yeah.
That was the last approved budget.
See, will the bids be shared out? I missed the first half of the meeting. How many have we gotten so far? And is the plan to get more? So we can share the presentation, the PowerPoint presentation that Christiana put together for doing that. And then I'm recording it via video since I can't record on Teams. But
There's 5 bids,
what's that? 5
Five.
bids?
and we don't have plans to get any more.
Riley, reserves were over 700,000 at the time we left condo management, and there has been no major expenses, so that means OnPoint owes us 500,000 to 600,000. I mean, that's the number that I saw was I think it was 799,000 in late 2023, but that's
Yeah.
number is different now. So, what are the next steps? What is our timing?
We need to vote, the board needs to vote and get with Parker and start the process.
Yes.
Sorry. What is our timing? I mean,
It depends on who we go with. Timing, I guess, if we're going with Roof Boss, he said 12 months. Could be, I believe he'll do it faster, but I don't wanna say that just from listening to him. I think he was trying to build a buffer in that timeline, but I could be wrong, it could go slower, I don't know.
I'm really wondering about timing, when it would start.
We have to vote, get with Parker, I don't know, I've never been a part of an association that's had a roofing project, so I honestly don't know a good answer.
So, to my friend's point here, if there's a special assessment that's slapped onto all the homeowners, I know I have not had a dues increase. Is that gonna be the second wave that hits shortly thereafter the special assessment?
The dues increase would be based on the budget. So key factor to me is getting OnPoint to give us that money back. Because if we got that money back, that's
Okay.
not gonna help with an assessment.
Right.
That could definitely help with the dues increase.
Okay.
Or
So-
not.
and the reserves.
And the reserves.
Because we definitely need to put money
Right.
into the reserves.
So we did,
When was the last increase? It's been a
I
while.
don't know.
And I know
the
that-
2023 budget, it was the beginning of 23, I think was the last dues increase. It was 20 or 25% increase. So it's been over 2 years since the dues increase.
So,
So if that can be a double whammy for people who are trying to, come together with funding to pay for.
Right.
So I think if I can give a recommendation to the board's level of transparency behind this process would be to outline what that managed change might look like. That we are expecting a special assessment in the amount of this much, this is how much it will cost per unit or whatever the calculations will be. And on top of that, we should be anticipating that there may be a dues increase
Well,
of this percentage because people need to budget.
The dues increase part of it is hard because we want, I would say in my
Or rather a
estimation,
commitment to say in
I-
2026.
I guess if we say we get, let's, in a example world, OnPoint left the country and we're never getting our money back.
Mhm.
we would need a dues increase according to the reserve study that was done. You see what I'm saying? So that is in flux right now.
But is there a commitment to say that, you know, July you give us $15,000 and then August we're raising your dues by 25%?
I thought the dues generally increase on the annual.
Yeah, if they go
They're
up, I
usually
think it's
January.
the annual budget, you can't just slap a increase randomly.
Right.
It's-
They're usually
What
voting.
is that?
Yeah, when is the annual budget?
They,
I've been on the worker group
Oh,
side.
I
I'm doing my best.
Generally asking the question.
Memory
Maybe
serves.
We have
August.
not had an annual meeting for 2025, so at some point we have to have an
Yeah.
annual meeting this year and construct a budget.
Yep, she's correct, and generally what I've seen, I mean, I don't know if it has to be, but generally it's first of the year, they say, okay, here's where we're at. The board puts together a budget, and then, and I could be wrong on the rules, so everything I say will not be taken against me. So anyway, what I understand it to be is the board gets a budget. All the owners vote. Now, if you don't get it, you have to vote down the budget. You have to have a
Right.
percentage. Okay, good.
It'll automatically be ratified unless, I
Unless
wanna say
X
it's like 50%
percentage
of people present voted that,
Vote
again,
it down.
this is not verbatim from the bylaws.
Right.
This is just kind of spitballing what I think I remember from them.
Well, that's what I think too. That's what I remember, so.
And which is why it's important that everybody participate in these meetings and
Mhm.
you know, read, you know, whether it's the newsletter, read your, you know, the minutes or the, you know, CCRs and the bylaws, and just participate and be a part of the community so that, you know, we're all in this together. And, you know, cause you can't be mad at somebody for, making a decision when you're not part of it. So.
And that's why we held this meeting, and that's why we held the roof boss meeting.
Yeah.
Because people were saying, hey, the board's not transparent. It's like, we wanna show you everything. So we've had more, I mean, this has probably been the most meetings in a less than 6 month time frame, you know, for public type meetings, I'm guessing, but.
And in regards to all the on-point stuff, we don't have anything to tell you because we don't have it to share. Like, we just
Right.
don't know. We're not keeping anything from you guys. Like, we literally just don't know either.
And this was brought up at a meeting before. All of the things we're telling you today was brought up at another meeting prior. So it's not like today we just brought this out for everybody. And we don't mind, cause I mean, even though this is a roof informational meeting, we wanna answer your questions regardless of what they are.
So I have a question. In terms of the assessment, you have 5 bids. So is there a range of what that cost is gonna cost?
Oh, well,
Right,
the bid, the highest bid was 4.4.
But I mean the breakdown, you haven't done that for each individual one.
If it's like an even split,
If
it's
it's
about
an even split, it is
15,000.
15,000.
But to his point, 15.
15,000.
1.5.
$400 is what was done.
That's the range.
No,
That's
That was-
the per person.
If we do an equal split, if we do it based on the size of the unit, based on what people pay for HOAs, that's what has to be figured out.
That would
Yeah,
be
that would be
difficult
yeah,
too,
that would be
because you're gonna have to
harder.
say how much part of the roof is yours. I mean, that's,
Right, but I'm just making sure out of the 5 bids, the most expensive is going to be 15,000.
the most
No,
expensive
no,
was
no,
30.
that's what I'm
No,
She
the
read
most expensive,
30.
the most expensive one was
The
31,000.
cheapest
So
was
31 to
15.
the minimum is
15.
what,
15.
15-ish.
Okay.
And that was including everything, the gutters, the, insulation, baffles, and all of it.
Yeah.
That's why some of those bids, that's why we wanted to have this, cause some of those bids aren't everything.
And like the numbers for, I don't remember which one it was, but they, said, oh, it's gonna be $1 million. They only looked at one building. You can't
Well,
pick your number from
and
one building.
they're not
to
doing the full
25.
scope of work. You
Right.
can't put roof over biological growth, you did no good. If that were the case, I would say, we'll just wait till they rot altogether, because you have to fix the problem with the roof. The ventilation fixes the problem with the new roof. And that was something that I liked to hear about from Roof Boss, right? Because Valentine didn't say nothing, they said biological growth, not gonna do it. And I'm like, how do you not do that? Roof Boss said, I will not put a roof on your place if there's insulation that has biological growth on it, just won't do it. which
So
makes
why
sense.
do we keep their bid if they're not gonna do it?
Well, because they told us to sub it out. They didn't say that, they said sub it out. Like a bunch of these say sub. So every time you get a subcontractor, one, you don't, if you have subcontractors, you should hire a general contractor. Because now you have to be accountable to the various subs and the roofer. If the roofer's accountable to the insulation, to the everything, and then they're gonna come back with photos, they're gonna come back and do their due diligence and show us what they've done. And then anybody working, whether it's the people putting up the gutters, whether it's people doing that. The other thing I did like that he said, the reason I'm not doing it in 3 months is because I'm not gonna hire a bunch of new people to do all your buildings. He says, I keep the same crews. So he said, I want it, they're gonna take their time with their experienced roofers and do it building by building by building.
Well, he also wasn't gonna, he said he wasn't gonna sub out, like some of these roofers will like,
Right.
go
You're-
find people to do the roof, and there's no
You're
guarantee.
referring to roof
That's
boss.
what happened
Yes.
with our current roofs, I mean, I guess what's our current
So the
roofs,
one
but-
thing that I really liked about Roof Boss was they weren't gonna subcontract out. And the people that he has, they have a minimum of 14 years of experience doing roofing. So to me, that means a lot.
Are they the most expensive?
Yeah,
No,
they're
they're
the
least
expensive.
expensive.
That's what I'm
Roof Boss
telling you.
is the least
Yes.
expensive?
For what they're offering, because they had a lot of stuff included where some of the others were not including
Right.
things, and then we'd have to pay extra for the other stuff.
And they
Right.
took the time to check every unit, and they made a whole presentation to come deliver to us for free, so that was another added thing that they
Yeah,
did.
and met with the board and.
What are we waiting for?
Well, cause that's.
Good question, but I wanted to present this to everybody and get your opinion. So I feel like
Well,
we're.
we just didn't wanna say, oh, we're gonna do this and then.
Yeah,
but
so
then-
we wanted you guys to also see the value and who you guys, that's why I said, you guys definitely ask questions and definitely tell us who you want. Because the board is gonna listen to you guys, we're not just here, that's why we're holding meetings, right? It's for you guys, not for us. Because
And
we might have made our mind up, but if you guys say, hey, what about this or that or the other?
And we don't wanna just pick a random one just because it's the cheapest either.
No.
Right,
But obviously, I feel like, my opinion, that Roof Boss was very comprehensive and all-inclusive, and, you know, that it's their people, they're not subcontracting out, that they're gonna do the work, they guarantee their work, they have warranties, and.
and they're coming back. They're coming back to inspect the roofs again, they're coming back to clean them, the roofs, so.
I think I heard someone ask the question too, if you can, before I got here, I was listening to it, they said something about maybe checking their past work or something like that?
Yeah,
Did somebody
yeah,
ask
yeah.
a question like that?
They had brought, I should have had them bring it with them, but Lydia asked, and she made a good point. Even though they gave us that, work that they did and had pictures and whatever else, we didn't talk to the folks that had that project done. So that's what on my notes is for me and Lydia, and I mean, you guys are welcome to whatever you wanna do as far as if you wanna look into it, you wanna talk to them. I mean, I'm sure they'll talk to you. They're local. I believe they're out of SeaTac.
You were gonna look into the previous condo unit they did.
Right,
Just see
so
what they say.
there's gonna be an email with myself and Lydia wanted that email as well. So we're gonna get with them and say, hey, we want whoever this association was, the HOA people, can we get their information to contact them about the roof project? And then we can vet them that way as well.
And I haven't contacted my neighbor, but I'm still waiting for him to look at all of them too, cause he works for the government and deals with contracts, like, kinda like what you do, but he does it the government side. I was gonna ask him to look into, cause he can look into, and he was gonna ask some of his people too, what they thought of some of these. I just haven't talked to him yet. Cause I wanted him to address them, so.
There's a new question. Curious if we'll engage a lawyer to put together a contract for whoever we go with to ensure we don't run into the issues we've run into so many times in the past shoddy work for management companies. Seems like some legal guidance on our end would be worth the investment. I mean, if their work is guaranteed and we have the warranty, I mean, I don't know.
Well, I think the problem in the past was I think they just hired somebody and paid them all out. You're not supposed to do that, I think. And you're supposed to pull money, you have money on the side, so you don't give them the full amount, cause if they don't do the work well, you don't pay them the rest, and then you use that money to fix what, so that's, and I think in the past, especially with Michelle and she was getting kickbacks, she was just paying out.
Yeah.
Full out. And that's why we have such shitty work, and she also was getting kickbacks and hiring people that were the worst.
Now, we don't know that for sure.
Not sure, but no. But she was hiring people that
Allegedly.
people that she worked with. She was only hiring people that she worked with. All the people that for the fence, those people she worked with in the past.
Yeah. We believe that,
Yeah.
that she was getting kickbacks, and so, kind of like the fence. I mean, the fence is, $130,000 worth of fence that looks like crap. So.
And then when they did the parking lot originally, it wasn't done well. The guys were just kind of half-assing it too, and it was done very well. So.
I think there's a very valid point being raised that we have not, because I live here, it has not been a good steward of our funds, and I think the investment to have a lawyer look at a $2 million+ contract would give some peace of mind that we have done a level of due diligence, and I don't want to speak for the other 142 other people that live here, but I think if it's a few $1,000s on top of that divided by 143, I think people might feel more confident that this decision was vetted through every appropriate channel that could be to safeguard their investment.
Yeah.
We can reach out to Parker and they work with Condo Law Group. So I know nothing about law, but I thought that name sounds good to me. We live in a condo and you call it Condo Law. And Targa's a larger company, so, and I know Parker has done projects before. I'm not sure if he's done them as part of Targa.
He manages 8 other properties right now.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Right. And
he's knowledgeable in that he's not just,
Right.
fiddling around with us. Like, he's got plenty other large companies that he
Right.
deals with, so he should be pretty experienced in
exactly.
these types of situations.
So not only him, but, we're gonna obviously utilize him, he's our property manager, but we can ask him too, to run it past the lawyers, because he deals with those lawyers, not just here, he deals with them for other properties.
Well, and also, figure out, like, how much is it gonna cost to
Yes.
have them review it. And,
I agree,
Yeah.
that's a great point.
cause that comes out of our
That's gonna be,
funds.
well, it's
so,
gonna be probably part of the assessment, because you
That's-
rolled into the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully it wouldn't be that big of a fee, but I don't know. So,
It's good thoughts.
and minimum of contract is sure worth it, guarantee even workmanship in the warranty, of course. Guarantees can be super shady and have tons of fine print, absolutely. Lydia, have we seen a boilerplate contract of what they will be needing the board to sign?
Nope.
Not yet. So I think we just need to figure out what
We
the
need to
next
vote.
steps are. Once we vote, and then, we can always put together something to share with the community about all of that. And of course, there's a lot of questions that still need to be answered that we'll have, Parker help us answer and research.
I kinda came in a little late, this is Ryan Craven at 1601, and so I missed a lot of the, did we get a dollar number and how much it's gonna cost each unit?
So
Yeah, or is that
we
really
don't,
the work?
we don't have an, per unit cost, but we're gonna share the PowerPoint presentation that was put together. I'm also recording this so that will also be shared, and there were some questions, so once we have the answers to any remaining questions, we'll get that out to the community.
And if you want rough numbers, we had 15,400 and up to 30,000 something.
31,000.
31,000 was the difference between the different bids. There was a question asking if it would be prorated by size of unit, which I didn't believe that to be the case, but we're gonna look into that further to see. Does a smaller unit use less roof or attic, or is that just a cost shared by everybody evenly? We were under the impression it's shared evenly, but we'll talk to Parker some more and see what he says.
Okay, well, thank you, I'm gonna drop in and just, look forward to the recording and I'll watch it at my leisure. Thank you. for everything, guys, and, I would give the advice that, I got given by another tenant, another owner. Check your homeowner's policy, because a lot of Washington law requires homeowner policies to have, loss assessment coverage on your policy. Because I don't know many people that have $15,000 to $30,000 lying around to pay a special assessment, so check your policies.
And just so you know, 30,000 isn't gonna happen.
We're not gonna go with that one.
Yeah.
That was the one that was.
Yeah, I'm just saying, I know I don't.
No,
and
none of us
probably
do.
can say a lot of us don't.
No.
That we, in that kind of liquidity, used to pay a special assessment. So just check that out, and I'll watch the thing. I'm not a lawyer, so I'm not giving legal advice, but, I would advise everybody to check their, homeowner's insurance policy.
Yeah.
Does Roof Boss have an expiration date of how long this bid is good for?
They all do, but I don't know. I think they're fine. We're fine because it hasn't been that long. A lot of times, I mean, they've gotta be at least 30, 60, 90 days generally. But I think that we'll be okay, would be my guess. Cause we are gonna try to vote once this meeting's over and discuss as a board.
I have a question. Does the board know when was the last time we had the roofing replaced here?
2012.
2012. And is there any kind of lifespan of the work, like how long it lasts?
Oh, I've got a point to bring up, actually. This could be some really good news, but don't get your hopes up. So when he was here, he showed us an example of a shingle that he took off the roof boss did, and he replaced it. The reason he did that is he's sending that back to the manufacturer. No other roofing company tried that or even said that. If that shingle's defective, we're gonna get free shingles and then the cost will go down. But that's a hope.
But to
That's
answer
wishful
your
thinking.
question, I don't remember who the roofer was that replaced the
I don't know
roofs
the
back
company
then.
name.
So what we believe to have happened, or we're looking at now, is they replaced the roof, they didn't connect ducting, they didn't do a lot of things right, thus premature failure of the roof.
And then any lawsuits that,
It went out of business.
Yeah, the company's bankrupt
well, the
now, so
company
they
went out of
couldn't-
business, but any lawsuit they did, which Gary, and there were some errors, just to fix minor things, it wasn't like the whole thing. And again, that's when you're paying the whole thing and not doing an inspection. That's the problem. So yeah, these should last longer than they have. They were not done.
Definitely. One last question, and then, cause it's 7:12, but one last question, is the board considering having a few people to act as a roof project committee to work with the board on this project? I mean, we used to have a roofing committee,
Yeah, I was on it. You got
but,
I mean, I guess I would say definitely whatever you wanna do to help. I mean, I don't know what that looks like. So I guess get with Parker. If you have a way to help, we're all for it. We love community participation.
and Parker's not here this evening, because he only attends X number of meetings per annual year.
6 per year and then the annual. Is that
Yeah,
right?
so, tonight's meeting we chose not to include him, to
Yeah.
save him for other meetings.
The last two meetings have been generally topics were roofs, so we didn't feel like adding Parker to this. Now, he will be in, cause how many, he has like 2 or 3
So I
left,
think he
right?
has 2 and an annual left.
Right, so he has
So-
3 meetings, so I believe we'll probably be able to have him at any other meetings moving forward.
We just didn't wanna waste him if we didn't actually need him right now.
And definitely email Parker with any questions as well, if you think of something later on.
Alright.
So I just wanted to ask about because I'm new to all this too, assessment information and all. If you do, when you have the assessment, the amount that each individual is that all at once? Is that
I would assume it's all at once,
Yeah, I don't
because
think we
the-
talked about
time
that yet.
frame and all that?
well, we don't have any of that information, but here's my thought process. We gotta start the payments, right? So however, I guess I shouldn't even try to answer that, cause maybe
I don't think it's all at once.
Well, actually, that's a good point, because usually assessments happen like a lump sum, but we'll get with Parker, because if we're actually paying as we go, maybe the assessments could be the same.
Like if
I'm
we pay
just saying that, I don't
25%
know.
down, maybe we
'Cause,
should collect,
right.
you know, but we don't know how
25%.
we don't know the payment terms yet, cause we haven't drafted up any contracts, this is just all informal bids, nothing's been decided or anything yet,
Correct.
so we can't say for sure.
And we'll have to discuss that with Parker. Assessments what I've had them be in the past or other associations was, here's your bill, you're assessed, pay it. It was not like, let's break it up into payment plans, because they want the money to start and complete the project. So that's what I thought it is, but that's a good question, maybe it can be that, I don't know.
Yeah, cause my question would be like, do the homeowners then get an invoice from the board or the HOA? Like, here's your assessment, here's the total cost, because then they would take that invoice, you know, some maybe take it to, like, what I would do is go to my insurance company and say, okay, I've received this assessment notice,
Right,
here's my deductible,
right. They would go.
give me my money to give to you, but
Right.
like,
They
if
would.
I get that money, I don't
Well-
know that I would wanna give it all at the same time, you know, like.
And what happens if someone can't pay?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say, what if?
Well,
you-
then you're
that
in
holds
a
up the project?
situation.
Does that
'Cause
hold
you're
up?
We or us, like.
Us, we.
Sure.
Okay, so here's my thoughts. Now, this is just my thoughts, cause I don't know. Let's say a bunch of people do get insurance. There's $100,000 that's gotta get paid to the master policy, right? So if everybody claims insurance, it goes to the 100,000 mark, if that's the mark. Then after that, the insurance maybe covers, but I don't know. I'm just saying, this is my thought process, not official. Then say half the people don't pay. Roof boss is still gonna ask for the money. So you're gonna take whatever's in reserves and whatever you get to on point, you're gonna have to pay it. I mean, that's, you know what I mean? They're not gonna not let us pay. And they're not gonna let us pay over, but she's right, there's a lump sum at the end. So whatever that lump sum is, you make sure your roofs are done, they're done right, you can have a separate person inspect a few of them, say, they look good to me, boom, give them the final check. That's like I say, I don't know if that's how it works for me in my logical mind, but we'll find that out.
My
as we
question
go.
was more general in the sense that some people might need to get a home equity loan, which they can't
Right.
because the roof doesn't pass inspection. Some people
Actually,
might not
I have a home
qualify,
equity loan.
some people might not qualify for a personal loan, some people, so
Right.
what happens to those homeowners who are unable to pay?
Yeah, like those of us who
Well-
just exhausted their savings to buy this.
Right.
You know?
I have a home equity line of credit. And I was able to get that, because what they did is they took the value of the condos, right, and said, your condo's worth X, you can loan to a certain percentage of that with home equity. But it depends on what you owe. Like, I'm sorry, man, but in your case, if you didn't have a bunch of equity in your condo, it's a home equity line of credit. So if you just bought, unless you put a lot down, you don't have equity. But
So what happens in that situation if a homeowner cannot pay, then the rest of us are held up in that process?
that's what I would assume, yes, because you gotta end up paying the bill at the end of the day. Now, the problem is then, for those homeowners, it's the same as when they don't pay their dues. They go to collections.
Then they have to
And
pay
then you wouldn't
extra
be able to
lawyers
sell,
and-
you'll never be able to sell your condo if your condo has a lien because you didn't pay whatever it is.
But we wouldn't be able to sell our condos either because somebody else has a lien.
That should be an individual basis, I would
Because
Well-
we can't get the roof back.
What's that?
Because the roof, if someone has a lien, it's because they can't pay the assessment. If they can't pay the assessment, then we can't pay the contractor, and if we can't pay the contractor, we can't get the roof done, so.
The
I can't sell.
contractor would just have to be paid out of everything we have.
Yeah.
I mean, we would
Exhaust the
we would
reserves.
exhaust the reserves and raise dues and do whatever we could to do it. Now, this is a side note, but if you look on Redfin, there's condos around here that are paying over $500 a month, no pool, no gym. Now, it's not much of a condolence, but that is facts.
Assessments in Washington State, so
I think there's a bunch of options you guys can do when you talk to Parker. Says if the special assessment is approved, and depending on the arrangements approved, special assessments can be collected as a lump sum through installment payments or otherwise. So it says some HOAs might even finance the expense and spread out the special assessment. So I would have Parker around and discuss all the options that we have.
So I can speak to one of those things. It was somebody talked about taking a loan out. So if you took a loan, say on the community property as a whole, as the HOA, what you would do then is when nobody paid that loan, you would be stuck paying that loan with interest. So you could loan against the common property, but then again, if it was like dues and a certain percentage of people didn't pay, somebody has to pay. So that's how the loan portion works, is what I was told, if you tried to loan against the common area.
It looks like there's a couple of options, so maybe just see.
No, I think I like all options, I agree with you, we gotta look into everything. I was just giving you what I knew about the loan portion.
Yeah, there's a lot of clarification that we definitely need to get.
Yeah, lump in everybody with a big assessment, and lump in everybody again with HOA due rate or raises are gonna hurt a lot.
All right, two more questions and then we definitely need to wrap this up. Okay, so are repairs to the affected units a possibility instead of total roofing replacement?
No, because there's more than just a couple units. It's not like there's 2 units and we're just doing everybody else's. It's widespread.
And, comment, so you're stating the board is not intending to get financing for the special assessment?
Financing, we haven't discussed financing. I'm telling you what I've looked at and what I've seen. So if you try to finance, one, you'd have to be able to finance. Would a bank even loan to us? I don't know that answer. 2, if we had a big loan, you pay interest on that loan, right? 3, if everybody doesn't help pay that loan, who pays that loan? So that was my point. I'm not saying yay, nay, we're not getting a loan, we are getting a loan. That was just my thoughts on the loan, if you did get a loan. If you can get a loan. I don't know if we could with how we are right now.
Okay.
Is that it? Any
Yeah.
other questions?
I mean, it's 7:22.
You guys can always email other questions to Parker, and we appreciate everybody for participating. We're just trying to let you guys know what we know and look forward to better days, and that's all we can. We're doing our best. Thank you for, like Christina, for putting this slideshow together. Melody got the camera set up and the whole Zoom thing and the newsletter, and they're doing a lot. So, and it's all volunteer. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
What exactly?
The wall or something?
Yeah.
I have it.
Landscape.
I already asked for it, I have it.
Yeah, 'cause I want a breakdown of what they're supposed to be doing.
I'll
based
send